In this week's UX Tea Break, I look at a technique for finding the user groups when you've done field research. So this question comes from Tyler Mayer, who asked me a question via LinkedIn messaging. Before the lockdown, I was carrying out field visits to users. Now I have lots of time on my hands for the analysis, but I'm struggling to identify the different groups. I feel like I'm making it up, and I'd like a more structured method. Any tips? So, identifying your user groups is a critical stage after doing your field research, especially when you want to create personas. But even if you hate personas, you still need to identify the different segments or the different types of user so you know who it is that you're designing for. Now, this stage of research can be tricky, and that's because you should be classifying your research participants by their different behaviours, but it's super easy to get sidetracked by demographic characteristics. For example, you might be tempted to group people together by job title if it's an enterprise product that you're doing research on, or by gender if it's a consumer app. But those demographic factors aren't important on their own. They only matter when they influence the behaviours that are relevant to your product. And even then, it's the behaviour that you're after. It's not the demographic fact. For example, people often focus on age as being important because they assume that older people don't use technology or because older people have poorer vision. But age isn't always a great predictor. Some young people don't use technology and some young people have poor vision. It's the behaviours of not using technology and struggling to read small text that matter, not someone's age. So here's a method I use. I write each of my participants' names on cards or on stickies. I mean, I guess you could do this electronically, but I quite like the theatre of having names on index cards. And then I randomly select 3 cards. So here I've got Hermione, I've got Ron, and I've got Harry. And then I ask, what do Harry and Ron have in common, but Hermione doesn't? Remember, I'm not interested in demographic facts like gender, so it's not much help to say Harry and Ron are boys, but Hermione is a girl. Instead, I'm interested in behaviours, things like activities, interests, key tasks, motivations, abilities, that sort of thing. So I might say Harry and Ron are novices, but Hermione, well, she's an expert. Now I have a behavioural dimension, let's call it domain knowledge. And then I ask, what do Harry and Hermione have in common that Ron doesn't? Maybe Harry and Hermione love gadgets, whereas Ron struggles with technology. So now I have another behaviour, let's call that one technical knowledge. And finally, I ask, what do Ron and Hermione have in common that Harry doesn't? Maybe Ron and Hermione use their mobile phone for everything, whereas Harry prefers to use a laptop. When I've finished, I'll put my cards back in the pack, I'll give them a shuffle, then I'll pick 3 more cards and I'll do it again. And after doing that a few times, making sure I've picked all of my participants a couple of times, I'll have a long list of behavioural dimensions. There might be 20 or 30 behaviours in that list, so I try to whittle it down. Some of them will be subsets of other behaviours, others might not be that relevant to my product after all. In that case, I'll simplify my analysis by dropping those dimensions. And I'm trying to get it down to around 10 or 15 behaviours. Then I'll go through my participants one by one and I'll rate each participant along each behaviour. So if one of my behavioural dimensions is domain knowledge, I'll rate each of my participants along that dimension from low to high. And then I'll do the same for technical knowledge and for the other dimensions that I identified. And at that point, I begin to start seeing some clear similarities and differences in their behavioural patterns. And those patterns are behaviourgrams. Okay, I just made that word up, but whatever. The pattern of behaviours is the thing that identifies my user groups. Now, I know that Tyler says he's finished his fieldwork, but just to make it clear, I'll often do this analysis when I'm in the middle of my research sessions. I'll do a provisional analysis like this after I've seen about 5 people, and I might change the way I'm doing the field visits to make sure that I'm fully exploring these behavioural dimensions with my next set of participants. So these early interviews are helping me work out what to look for in the later interviews. So I hope that helps, Tyler. And if you found it useful too, do me a solid and give the video a thumbs up to tell YouTube's algorithm to recommend this video to other people. And if there's a question you'd like me to answer in a future video, please post it below.